Hi there, my name is Alex, and today I'm here with Alex Christensen from Blue Pig Web Solutions. He'll introduce himself in a moment, and we're going to talk all about how they use Atarim as a part of their workflow to improve their process of web design and more. We'll get straight to it. So, hi Alex. First of all, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me. And for those out there who don't already know, please tell us a little bit more about Blue Pig Web, the team, and what it is that you guys do.
So we're Blue Pig Web Solutions. We started back in 2017. We are a digital marketing agency with a huge focus on web design and development. It seems like a lot of digital agencies, that's kind of more one of their tertiary or kind of background services just for their current clients that need it, where we take a different approach. We really want to offer those marketing after we've designed and developed their website because we have a better understanding of them. And so we've been around for a while now and really, diving into it. E-commerce was one of our specialties, and we've grown from there to, do a variety of industries. We have a huge impact in the ticketing community for like events, theaters, comedy clubs. We work heavily with that, so that's one of our larger niches. And so we've been really in the grind day in, day out of web design development, including hosting and maintenance. So that's something that is just kind of rolled in every time we get on a new client. Most of the time we line them up with a hosting and maintenance package. So we use Atarim through the entire process.
Amazing.
It's a huge chunk of our day-to-day operations, and it's something that's very important to me as a business owner, but even my team. It's been our number one tool.
What is it that first led you to Atarim? If you can recall the specific pain points you were facing, things you were looking to solve. I mean, you already alluded to a couple of them now, so I'll let you take it away.
So we've been using Slack for a long time, as well as Trello for kind of more of the project management side. But within Slack, we have client channels and project channels. So that way, the dev team or whatever team needs to be there in the project channel, and the project manager and myself are in the client channel with the client. So anytime we needed edits or stuff done, we would have them take screenshots or a Loom video and provide that in the client channel. So that way the dev team and everyone could be in the loop and ask questions. That was kind of getting outdated really quick. It was getting bogged down to where we didn't have a system in place to really notify the clients when things were complete or not. It was just kind of like, messages other than a check mark or replying back to them, hey, this is done. But it made more sense to have a centralized system into these sites that, would make it super simple, go in there and request edits. And so there was a couple out there that we had looked into, but they were very basic and they were very much more like just a ticketing system on the back end of the website. It's like, we don't want to install this whole nother ticketing system that's only going to be used in a small scale. So that was number one, was trying to find what's a great solution on being able to have our clients easily request edits, not only for during the development stage, but post-development when we're hosting and maintaining them. Because that's a big thing of we want to make it super easy for you guys to request edits and a fast turnaround. And so I'm pretty sure I saw a video of Vito. It was either on Facebook or LinkedIn, and he was talking about this new plugin, WP Feedback Pro. And I was like, oh, cool, interesting. Looked into it. And I was instantly sold. Like the whole commenting, because version 1 was just the commenting feature. Mm-hmm. It was just boom, install. You're able to select these elements, leave comments, and you're notified. And it's like, shut the front door. Let's get rid of everything else. This is perfect. So we still use Slack as our client and project communication. But what's great is we were able to eliminate Trello. That said, we were able to integrate Atarim directly into Slack. So that way we still had all that client communication. The dev team would be notified when there's an edit. And then from there, the client would just be emailed when their edits were completed. And so far, none of our clients have complained. Okay, I take that back. A few have, but they're the ones who are more old school, and they just want to jump on a phone or a Zoom call every day and then go through it. And it's like, that's wasting both our times. If you want that, then send us a Loom video and then just post it in your comment.
Yeah.
Let's eliminate these meetings because they're unless we're going to charge you for them, we will bill you to a certain extent. So let's utilize this new system. It's easy. It's intuitive. Trust me. Just jump on board. And once they have, they're like, okay, I'm in. This makes sense now.
Yeah, I think it's always a bit tough with certain clients to get them on board, but I love to hear the way that you've done it, which is that you maintain the Slack for the one-on-one casual communication that you have with clients, but then you link it and pair it with Atarim and the integration to post notifications when there's a new comment so that everybody still feels as connected as it's not separating the communication from where they already work, which for a lot of teams is Slack. But it gets you that context when somebody does create a ticket for you in Atarim. You have the full context and you don't even have to assign the dev. It's just automatically going to the developer on the team. Which leads me perfectly to my next question. How, I imagine it sounds from the positive comments so far that it was super easy to get everyone on your team on board as well. But if you'd be able to go back to the initial days of implementing WP Feedback Pro, and then also when you then transitioned to Atarim, which is a slightly different system. Were there any initial learnings from getting your team familiar with the process of using Atarim, things that they ran into in the early days that made it a little harder to make it sticky, but then once you overcame that hurdle of getting them to use it, essentially made everything feel as smooth as you just described it to be?
It wasn't much of an issue because we were kind of in that stage where we were growing rapidly and we needed to find, so we had already been testing different systems, not just ones compared to Atarim, but also like Trello, Teamwork, Asana, Monday. Like we were testing all these pieces and platforms and software to get our standard operating procedures in place so we knew how everything would work. So they were already kind of used to jumping into something, but I think it was more getting understanding how the notifications worked and just kind of going through, okay, this is how we need to sign, let people know. This is how we initiate internal comment. And so I think most of them dive in, and I love how they're able to either, because we also utilize WP Engine. So that's kind of their central place where they log in a lot of times, depending on the developer, because then they'll just go through site by site and look at the comments. Others will use the actual centralized dashboard to go through and say, okay, here, these ones need done. And it's great having the centralized dashboard so that way you might miss something. And this way you can see all the edits, every site, every project added. It's like, okay, nothing, green check mark all around. Perfect. We're good to go. And with us, we've actually been able to, as you guys have released new features, adjust our SOP to match. So we were using InVision for the longest time. And I think InVision now is even eliminating some of their like prototyping and stuff, which is coming out at perfect time because we didn't like having, here, send them a InVision link, let them leave comments. Now we got to install Atarim. They have to learn that. Here we create a whole flow to where we're doing a redesign development project. The client's already getting used to Atarim and the commenting system because we're using it for the design and mockup phase. So that way, hey, this is going to be the exact same flow and style when we move over to hosting and maintenance and also start building the site. It's all going to be included. You're all going to be able to see and use all the same features. So there's no learning curve over and over. It's just straight through. So that's been super helpful all around for clients as well, but also our dev team, because it's like we get to eliminate these extra processes. And we're looking forward to even some of the more integrations that are yet to come. Like I know you guys are working on Figma. We use now Figma completely in our design team. Like that's all we use now for mock-up design. So for that, we're looking forward to that because boom, changes our SOP again to where it's more streamlined. So things like that, watching Atarim grow and add this stuff and really listen to the community on what our needs are. Because I go in there every week, I'm upvoting different comments and adding stuff. I'm like, yes, I want that feature. That's a great feature. And so seeing them really start changing week to week to you're now on the roadmap, this is in consideration, and watching them get implemented, I get excited because I'm like, okay, how can we now streamline and improve our standing operating procedure to include this and eliminate other monthly bills by saying, hey, we don't need InVision anymore. We don't need Trello. Like stuff like that is great.
Amazing. If I could just for a moment, you already started going into it, but just to dive a bit deeper, at what part of the web design process do you use Atarim? So you say that you're using it at the mock-up stage when you're prototyping. So take me a little bit through more what that process looks like at Blue Pig Web. Because I know, as I imagine, it's probably changed over the years for you as well. Some web design agencies like to go straight to WordPress, straight to their page builder of choice, or straight to building a custom theme. And some prefer to start in Figma or InVision or in some other tool. So you're starting in, from what it sounds like now, Figma, and then taking that and putting it into the image collaboration. I don't want to speak for you, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way we prefer to do it because it gives us a little more flexibility. And the sites we're doing are really more design. We're really trying to push the limits and do different things with the design. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard sometimes depending on the company size. Sometimes if they're larger companies, they understand branding and understand what, here is a wireframe and then a mock-up. Some clients, they don't understand the difference between a wireframe and mock-up, and we have to almost like have a seminar with them. So we start right from the beginning we discuss with them on a call about what their sitemap is. And usually probably 80% of the websites we do are redesigned. So their sitemap is going to be the same structure that's currently on their site, unless we notice something different. And from there, we'll just talk about it. But we start from the wireframe into the whole mockup right away from Atarim. And then also when we start building it, we present it to them with that, so they can start using Atarim as well, making comments before the site goes live. And then hosting and maintenance, they're already used to the platform, so we're good to go.
Amazing. So now to tie it all back together, aside from I imagine and from what it sounds like, go for it being the first, do you have any advice for someone out there who is just getting started and listening to your experience of using Atarim?
I would say maybe not just go for it, but I mean, yes, go for it. Just do it. But look into a lot of the integrations and see how you can kind of use the integrations already within there, because we also use Make, or you can use Zapier. I know they both are integrated.
Mm-hmm.
We use Make just because I like their layout better, better pricing, better usability. But this way, we actually are able to have it comment to specific Slack channels. So not only is it in Atarim, they get notified in our project Slack channel, hey, there's a new task, and gives them a short description and a link that takes them to that task. So stuff like that, super awesome, because it's getting in two places, which some people might think is counterintuitive, but when you update it, it updates you there. It's just a great way for communication, because we can even talk about a task within Slack by just adding a thread to it or whatever. So look into some of the integrations and see how it fits into your current SOP. And then, like, if you're using Envision or you're using these other platforms, you might be able to cancel some of them and utilize the features within Atarim already, especially since they've added the visual collaborator. You can now use websites that aren't WordPress. So we have a couple Shopify clients, so we add them on there as well. So that way they can still use it for requesting edits and updates, etc. And so that's a major thing I would say, is look into already what you're using and how this can replace multiple pieces and just streamline everything.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of agencies that might come to it and be like, oh, we already have our super defined processes where we do like a kickoff meeting, and then we have Figma and we don't want to change from Figma. But the reality is that it doesn't need to be a destructive experience when you introduce a new tool. It can be incremental. Like you've described, you've done it. You incrementally adopt parts of it, you introduce it at the visual collaboration stage, and then slowly you realize, actually, do we even want clients to have to be familiar with Figma when we can just introduce them to Atarim from day one and use the image collaboration tool? And soon, the integration with Figma will hopefully make that an even smoother experience for everybody.
I can't wait for it. Our team now has really honed in and started using Figma as the source. I know you guys have other integrations as well, so it's not just Figma. You can look in. I mean, your integrations continue to grow and grow and grow, which is awesome, because it's like, I didn't even know some of these companies, but they're pretty cool. So people out there, if you already use them, awesome. Let's streamline. But like I said, like Envision stuff, I've already eliminated it. But with Figma, like you said, a lot of people use it for. We never used Figma for requesting content. We always went to Envision because we like their image, like their commenting. But with Atarim, it's just as good. So I love the fact that, oh, boom, here's the mockup. It's already synchronized. Boom, we got the comments, good to go. So all our teams are reducing these extra steps of now log in, check on this, boom. Because the design team doesn't need access to Atarim. They just need access to the design. Let the dev team and project manager have access to that, and they can control all the rest. Like, unless before we were, that integration, download it, upload it to Atarim. But let's eliminate that. Keep you within the process you use, which is design, and let the project manager and the system take control of everything else. Because it's day by day, every day, I'm seeing new updates and looking through everything that is changing in the change log. I'm like, oh, these are awesome. Can't wait for this one to come out. So yeah, I think there's so much that it can do, especially within the integrations, and work with so many project managers.
Was there a point or a critical mass number of projects per month that you hit where the notification overload of having stuff in Slack, stuff in Trello, and then the back and forth of asking for clarification before using Atarim that you hit, where you realized now is really the point where we have to use it?
We already had a large number of projects in the process. So that was never a problem. I mean, we never really hit a peak where it's like, oh, this is too much. It was more, I saw Atarim and saw its technologies and the ability to save time on the back and forth of, oh, now they can visually easily highlight, oh, this element we want change. Boom. Like, just going through the first demo. I think I had a demo with Vito, or maybe I saw something and it blew my mind. I was like, I'm in. Like, that will streamline and make everyone happier. The developers, the project managers, the client, me, we're all happier because of how the system works. We visually can see the issues. We visually can communicate, and it's a great UI to be able to go through and just easily select what we want, leave comments. Content is already then saved in the back end if we want to, and then we just go in and make the edits. There was a no-brainer. It was just like, skip this, done. And we were only using Trello for like the project manager, so it was great to have it update there, just so we would move, like, project manager, like, oh, this part's done, slide over. And so, yeah, it was just from the get-go of seeing its capabilities and the capacity that's able to do. No contest. Like, signed up right away. Didn't care about that extra fee of adding a new tool when I knew in the long run it was going to benefit us.
So time saving and overall improvement of the workflow for both your team and clients is what sold it from day one, even regardless of the number of projects. If you can, and I
Yeah.
understand if it's not possible to quote a number, but generally speaking, did you observe any as a result of, you say you weren't like at capacity at the time, but when introducing Atarim, because of the time saved and because of the reduction in overall friction in delivering projects with clients, would you say there was an increase in capacity or a reduction in average turnaround time for projects that you'd be able to point to when Atarim was introduced, or when Atarim was really used from start to finish in a process for a specific project?
I think it did save time. It's hard to really quantify this, and the reason why is, and I have a meeting later today to talk to them about, what's the time frame for this? And if you're doing hundreds of web design development projects, it really comes down to the client. Like, we have clients like, how long is the design? Like, usually a week, but depends on your feedback and approval. I've done some where it's taken 2 months because they don't know what they want even halfway through. And so that's the hard part to really quantify, but it has made receiving that feedback crucially easier and sped up the time of keep making those edits and changes. Even if they were back-to-back days of making feedback, it has helped our team internally understand the edits that they want changed and make those changes.
Yeah. So even what I think, and not to put words in your mouth, but it takes what is used to be two radically different clients in terms of understanding of how to leave feedback and completely no understanding of what you expect as a web developer to be able to make the changes efficiently. And it kind of meshes them together, and at least more so. It's still going to be slightly different when somebody knows the internal language that you use and how you refer to headers, how you refer to footers and stuff like this to somebody who doesn't. But it really bridges the gap to a significant point where it's almost just as easy to work through feedback from a client that some agencies might refer to as difficult. We just call them different. We don't necessarily want to call any specific client difficult, because it's just a different experience level, different familiarity with the process.
Oh yeah, because we have clients that two of them popped to the top of my head where they run multiple businesses, and one of them just bought two more companies separate. And so I already know, like, she even told me from go-go, like, I'm not going to be able to communicate fluidly. Like, I am going to be broken up because I have so much on my plate. It's like, completely understand. Thank you for letting us know the pace and what to expect. So stuff like that is like, hey, I'm happy that they're busy, because that means in the long run, we hopefully can get more work for other businesses and projects they're doing, which that's what this next upcoming meeting is. We did one website for them, and now they bought two new companies on two new websites. And so this time we've implemented Atarim, and she's getting the hang of it and really loving the feedback. But it's like, we need to just keep this feedback coming. But having her be able to go in there and just leave those comments, it streamlines it. Because before, she was entering it right in Slack, trying to describe what she wanted. It's like, whoa, you have the link, you're added to it, just click on the mockup, and you can select everywhere you want these edits to be made. So that way it's more precise and we know what's going on. So they really definitely appreciate that once they embrace it.
Yeah.
And yeah, things go much smoother in terms of communication, understanding, and expectations. 100%.
Amazing. Do you, as a part of the process, require devs on your team to track time for the specific tasks, or do you not manage it to that level in Atarim, or not yet?
No, we don't use it within Atarim because our team has our own just task tracking, and it's easy because a lot of times when they're doing development, they're not tracking stuff within Atarim. And for our like hosting and maintenance plans, we do unlimited updates, unlimited edits, and so that all comes down to content based. So that's why it's like we don't need to track that time. Like, they're all easy. Most of the time, the stuff is like change paragraphs. We haven't come into anything that's been complicated. If they request something new, we tell them, like, hey, that's outside the scope. We have a client right now, we're rebuilding their homepage. So I provide them with, here's this how much it's going to be. Perfect, go for it. And so from there, we already know what our budget is, and they time track it their way. But we actually don't utilize that feature functionality, just the way our billing and everything's set up.
Amazing. Okay. And if you'd be able to take back to darker times, we've spoken a little bit about it throughout the conversation already, to before using Atarim, what would the average, like, we talk now about how with Atarim in the picture, it not only makes it easier for clients to leave feedback, it's quicker, but before using Atarim, the back and forth was everything limited to Slack and back and forth in Slack, or did you also have emails, WhatsApps, and another help desk where you had support coming in from, questions coming in from?
Emails and Slack are really what we push to, and because my email gets flooded every day, and sometimes it's hard to remember keeping track of all these chains, it's like, once you're a client, you're on our Slack channel. That's where we'll do communication. Mm-hmm. They'll email us sometimes once in a while if it's something like they need a forward or a Google Search Console issue. But then I'll just forward that to the Slack channel or copy and paste it in there, or even forward it to my project manager, whoever needs to see that email. Then they'll take care of it and post it in Slack. So right now we've really streamlined it to Slack, and then dev website edit communication through Atarim. Like go in there, make your edits, everything, and then we reply within each task, so everything's streamlined again.
And have you been able, with automated reporting, to cut out having to manually update clients that tasks are complete? So you mentioned before something which I think a lot of us using Slack are familiar with, which is reacting with the check mark to a message when something is done. But that doesn't actually send a notification, and people don't often realize. So I'm guessing now with Atarim in place, you don't have to have project managers really send updates and say at the end of the week, like, oh, this is what we did, because they see that through Atarim.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I just have to remember that's one of the steps on my end that I have to remember to do is go in and select the client as a user in Atarim, or else they won't receive those updates. So I was like, oh man, I got to do that. That's something actually I wrote down today. I need to update our SOP for project manager, whoever's installing it. Make sure to create an account for the client and add them as the client within the settings. So once we got that down, it makes it so much easier. But that's one thing I forget to do every time. I'm like, shoot, I need to go in there and update that.